Before coming up, Iran's capital, the target of unprecedented attacks. Responsibility. Iran's Revolutionary Guards blame Saudi Arabia. The Iranian foreign minister in Turkey to discuss the blockading of Qatar by Saudi-led nations. In this edition, the UAE's foreign minister tells France 24 why Qatar deserves to be isolated. By fired FBI Director James Comey, Donald Trump naming a new director for the Bureau. Christopher Wray formerly ran the criminal division at the Justice Department. UK voters really want. It's the eve of a general election that was supposed to be all about Brexit. It was supposed to as well give a landslide win to the ruling Conservatives. Hasn't gone to script. The defining issue. Tell us on Facebook and Twitter. The hashtag F24Debate. Iran's supreme leader dismisses the Iran, a claim of responsibility by ISIS, the attacks against parliament and Ayatollah Khomeini's mausoleum, unprecedented. At least 12 victims. Iran's Revolutionary Guards blame Saudi Arabia and point to last week's video.
Two simultaneous terrorist attacks in the heart of Tehran. First at the parliament, where 4 attackers stormed the building and went on a shooting spree. They did so as lawmakers were in session. The siege lasted. Were shot dead by police.
When we were close to the parliament in a taxi and we heard some gunfire, security officials and seeking shelter.
On the other side of town, some 25 kilometers south of the parliament, 2 other suicide bombers detonated their vests outside the attacks, and scores more have been wounded. Speaking from Ankara, Iran's foreign minister offered his condolences.
I'd like to express my condolences to the mausoleum of Ayatollah Khomeini and the Iranian parliament. This attack will only fortify the resolve of our people in our fight against terrorism.
Shortly before midday, the Islamic State group claimed responsibility for the twin attacks. The Sunni extremist group is at war with Iran-backed. Such terrorist acts are rare in Iran, especially in the highly secured capital. Both of the sites that were targeted this Wednesday are highly symbolic. Iran's parliament has female members. Meanwhile, the mausoleum is the tomb of the Islamic Republic's founder, Ayatollah Khomeini. Also known as Iran's first supreme leader, he led the revolution back in 1979 to overthrow the Shah and eventually stayed in power for 10 years.
It's the latest edition of tension after the blockading of the emirate by Saudi Arabia and neighbors. Iran's foreign minister is in Ankara. Mohammad Javad Zarif meeting his Turkish counterpart as well as President Recep Tayyip Erdogan to discuss what he called in Iran backing Qatar in its row with Saudi-led states. It's day 3 of that landed air minister speaking to France 24's Mark Perlman.
I'm sure that there are wiser heads, there are society in Qatar, and that they will impress the Emir that this is time to change course, that the policies of the past 2 decades have failed and have isolated Qatar, and this is not a reputation that Qatar wants. Qatar's natural habitat within the Gulf, and the Gulf is clearly combating extremism and terrorism.
On the eve of testimony by the fired FBI Director James Comey before the Senate, Donald Trump naming a new director for the Bureau. Christopher Wray formerly ran the criminal division at the Justice Department. Now, earlier in the day, we heard Director of National Intelligence James Clapper saying the current crisis was bigger than the Watergate scandal at this point. Earlier, we spoke to correspondent Philip Crowther.
Well, a lot of people here in Washington are saying that tomorrow's testimony by political moments in U.S. history. Of course, this depends on what exactly he says. He's expected to talk about the meetings he had, about those meetings that happened. 3, I believe, in total have been documented. And according to Donald Trump, in the letter that he wrote when he fired James Comey, he had been told by him on 3 separate occasions that Donald Trump himself, the U.S. president, would not be investigated. Investigation. Then details came out from associates of former FBI Director James Comey saying that quite a bit of pressure on James Comey when he was still FBI Director to shut down or at least to lessen the investigation into possible collusion between the Donald Trump campaign and Russian intelligence of the Watergate scandal, and one of the reasons why Richard Nixon then decided to let go of the White House. Now, we don't think that James Comey will go quite that far in testimony tomorrow in front of the Senate Intelligence Committee. That would be saying that, but he will give details of his conversations with the U.S. president. We'll be getting a lot of insight into what this U.S. president did and whether he tried to influence somehow the ongoing investigation. There are, of course, the FBI, and then the 2 investigations, one in the Senate and one in the House. The one in the Senate is pretty much underway as we speak, with a hearing happening right now up on Capitol Hill with the Director of National Intelligence and the Director of the NSA on that proceeding.
Aboard has gone missing. There are fears that the aircraft, which was en route from southern Burma to Yangon, may have crashed into the ocean. More from our regional correspondent, Clovis Kazali.
The military aircraft went missing around 1 southeast of Burma. On board, over 100 passengers, soldiers, their families, and children. Notably, over 100 people who left from Miyake, an air base where these troops were stationed. They were heading to Rangoon, which is the economic hub in by the army on social networks. The army who said that it quickly dispatched rescue teams to the area, who found in the Andaman Sea debris of this military aircraft, a Chinese-made Y-8 bought last year. For the identified the cause of this accident, but seemed to think that it was due to technical. Was good when it took off. The weather was good, even though it is monsoon currently in Burma. This tragedy, 100 passengers, has of course raised concerns over safety, with a recent history of plane crashes in Burma. Recent months, there were 2 other accidents involving military aircraft that caused the death of several people.
Clovis Kazali reporting. We'll have more news for you later. France 24 debate.